B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach. Pirkei Avot, which is such a treasure trove. The Gra says that all of the ethical guidance somehow is hinted in the Pirkei Avot. So today we're going to talk about the chapter 4 of the Pirkei Avot, Mishnah 4:4. Rabbi Leviatas says, from Yavne says, Me'od me'od haveh shafel ruach. One must be very, very humble, shetikvat eno shrima, because the ultimate tikva, which is hope of a person, is to become worms. So here I saw such a beautiful A+ idea from the CHAMETZ CHAIM. He says, what's the idea that why would anybody hope? The tikva means hope. Why would anybody hope to become his body to decompose and become maggots and worms? So he says, the CHAMETZ CHAIM says a fascinating thing that's talked about in the Gemara Shabbat, Kuf Nun Gimel 143, side A. It says that the neshama of a person cannot totally get attached to God. The fascinating Gemara, your soul cannot get totally attached to God till your body decomposes, and that takes at least 12 months. Which means your soul cannot totally be at peace unless your body totally decomposes, which on average takes 12 months. And this is what the CHAMETZ CHAIM explains so gloriously and wonderfully, that how could you, once you're alive, boast and be fantasized and narcissistically totally preoccupied and focused on yourself, your body, your looks, your money. But he says that the truth of the matter is, your soul, after you pass away, is hoping, even before 12 months, that the body decays so it could become totally attached to its creator, which is the greatest of all pleasures. Any other pleasure in the world is zero, zilch. Not even minor leagues compared to this. And the Gemara in Sotah tells us a terribly scary thing. Somebody that is haughty, egotistic, the Gemara Sotah page Hay says, God says, En ani vehu yecholim ladur ba'olam hacher. God says, me and him cannot live in the same world. And it's even more scarier. It says, such a person that is full of himself and so self-centered that he thinks, God forbid, he himself is God. He says that he's not going to, when God resurrects the dead, when there's techiyat hametim, he won't get up. So he says that's why a person has to be very, very careful and meticulous to break down his ego as much as possible. The Grazal parenthetically says that the reason why it's so, we have to be very, very me'od. We seldomly find that language of very, very in Chazal and the Torah, is because in the first chapter of Devarim it says V'ram levavecha v'shachachta. Once you have gaiva, you forget God. Once you forget God, it's a lost cause. And even the king has to always be careful, as it says in chapter 17 in Devarim. Even if you're the king and you're the master of everybody, you do not have any permission to be snobby and egotistic. And that's why actually all kings have to come from the blood of King David, which was the ultimate. And Rav Ovadia just brings a beautiful idea here, that ultimately we have to understand that the humility is the hallmark, is the greatest of all attributes. There's many great attributes: to be a giver, to be patient, Actually, Rav Volbe brings that patience is a subcategory of humility. But we have to understand that the greatest reason God picked the Jewish people, the Gemara in Chulin, page 89, Pei Tet said, is Hashem, it says, Lo mirubchem mikol ha'amim chashak becha. God says, I did not pick the Jewish nation because you guys were the most numerous. We Jews are the smallest religion in the world. God says, Ki ha'me'at, you guys are the least people. But the Gemara learns that no, not that we Jews are few in number, but homiletically the Gemara explains we Jews always belittle ourselves. We're humble. That's why God loved us and chose us. And it says that's why God so much desires us and wants us. God gave greatness to Avram. The Gemara there says, he said, I'm dust, anochi afar ve'efer, I'm ashes and dust. To Moshe and Aaron he gave it. To David, to Moshe and Aaron he gave it. And they said, Vanachnu ma, what are we? We're nothing. To David he gave greatness. He says, I'm a worm, I'm not even a person. But the Goyim, it's to the contrary. To Nimrod he gave greatness. He said, I want to kick God out of the world. I'm going to create the Tower of Babel. To Paro he gave greatness. He said, when Moshe comes to him, he says, who's God? I don't need God. I don't know God that I should listen to him. To Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, he gave greatness. He said, I'm going to go to the clouds and I'm going to become a god myself. To Hiram, the king of Sur, he gave greatness. And he said, Moshe Velukim Yashafti Belev Yamim. He said, I'm going to challenge God in the heart of the oceans. And the Gemara over there parenthetically says that 3 people expressed a language of humility: Abraham and David and Moshe and Aaron. But the Gemara says what's said about Moshe and Aaron, V'anachnu ma, what are we, is the greatest. So my Rosh Yeshiva Zatzal, I'll never forget it, Rav Weinberg said the greatest level a person could get to is that deep realization to realize that we human beings are mere mortals are zero. We're just the thought of God. We only exist because He exists. We are nothing. We can become nothing without Him. All the credit goes to Him. So why are you so self-centered and narcissistic and egotistic? And that's the ultimate level of Moshe, where, and Aharon also got to that level where they realized that mankind has no existence because of his own. It's only because God exists and gives us energy and power that we're able to exist. Avram and David, as lofty as they were, they still had a little bit source of existence. But the highest level, Rav Dessler also talks about, is because you understand a person's characteristics and thought process to how he expresses. Ish lefi mahalelo. So may Hashem help us to realize that actually we should always be striving to be more and more humble. We should have zero ego. And the ultimate thing is to realize that us mere mortals, we're just a figure of God's imagination. We really don't exist. The only reason we exist is because He exists. Hatzlacha, and have a wonderful Shabbat.